Good morning and welcome to Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading and take a look at hot spots in the markets for today, Friday, April 29th, the last trading day of April. Oh my gosh, we're going to be into May next week. This year is just blowing by. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me, Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. What are we going to be talking about today? Oil definitely rallied some yesterday on some news. We're seeing it push a little bit higher today, but we will take a look at oil because it has punched out of that range that it was stuck in. We'll take a little bit of a look over at the U.S. dollar. We've got the dollar finally pulling back from some of its strength, and of course the news today is going to be equities. I think that's what everyone's going to be talking about. The headline news. Amazon and Apple came out with earnings. Apple's earnings were great, but they warned on some supply chain challenges, so it could impact their future. Stocks pulling back a little bit. I know, Brian. We'll actually, for fun, take a look at Apple, and then uh, Amazon will be the news of the day. They took a big hit on their investment in Rivian, so they had to write off just over $7 billion, and their growth slowed. With that, a $1.4 trillion company is down 10%. So Amazon's getting absolutely hammered today. With it, we're going to see some pressure on the Nasdaq index, and we're going to see some pressure on the markets broadly. But that 10% pullback, you want to see what happens if you burn $140 billion. Well, $140 billion is going up in smoke as we speak. Kind of a crazy number when you think about it. All right, before we jump over to the charts and take a look at some of the other news, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. And just quickly, you can see, and I'll let Brian talk about it, but yes, there was some news yesterday. Oil started punching higher, mostly around Europe, discussing actually turning off Russian oil. And they may do that. They may put an embargo on it now because Germany finally conceded that that's something that's going to have to happen, and they've prepared for it. If they do that, there's less oil supply. Well, where are they going to get it from? They're going to have to get it from somewhere. Less supply, price goes up. So with that, Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you, and let's just. I mean, there really isn't a lot today other than the big equities news, and we're going to see some weakness in the equities on the open. We did have. I forgot to say, we did have PCE, the personal consumption expenditures for the U.S. Came out right in line, up a little bit. The year-over-year numbers sitting just above 5%. But that's the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. So I know we have the 8% numbers, but the one that the Fed looks at is between 5 and 6, which is still cuckoo crazy. We got to do something to back that off.
Yeah. Yep, it's 2.5 times their mandate. So I mean, they're failing 2.5 times worse than Amazon did. So
and that's a multiple.
There's that, you know.
250% higher is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I mean, and it's interesting, we talk about the 250. So yeah, you mentioned Amazon and how much they missed by, and the miss was by minus 189%. But that's on the back of fourth quarter where they beat it by 657%. So I'd much rather take the beat of 657 versus the miss of 189. And this is like the ultimate opportunity. You see Amazon drop 10%. It's like, yep, you want to buy that. That would be a good buy because it was an investment, not their earnings. So yeah, it's funny. Anyway, yeah, PCE coming out today. Actually, it just shows you that they are failing even more than what we're talking about. There was an adjustment last time. It wasn't as high, which means that this should have been actually lower. So it stayed on forecast, even though there was an adjustment last time, which means, again, that they were off. Whenever you see the adjustment and it's red in the past and they maintain, it means that it was actually greater than what the expectation was. So, it doesn't matter what it was still trending higher. And again, starting from a lower point at that same peak, again, there was actually a bit of an acceleration. So it shows you that nothing is working yet. CAD GDP, we mentioned that CAD was, they've been having some great data, and that's the largest mover right now. The dollar CAD is down 132. in the last 24 hours. We've talked about CAD is really coming back again. The pound is retracing some of its losses from this week as well, versus the euro down, again, euro pound down 52. That's a day's worth of movement already. Pound yen coming back a little bit, but it's not surging. But it just shows you that, how things can, suddenly shift. The dollar yen, again, now they are opposite, right? Pound yen is up 66, dollar yen is down 65. But pound
Yep.
dollar up 113, and even the euro dollar up just a little bit over there. So, our hopes of parity may be slowly going out the window. And even Aussie dollar, again, 87, we've talked about that as well. So there has been some interesting headlines out there. Again, hours ago, we heard that Russia's now, they're full, I guess peace is not a big deal anymore. They are full-blown press. Kiev, or however you want to say it, they're raining down again. Basically across the board, they're full pressing again for the country. That's one of them. And then this came out a little while ago as well, about 5 hours ago now, that China's foreign minister basically says that China and Russia's ties a new model of international relations. So, again, I don't think it's any surprise that Europe wanted to become independent of Russia. They said that they can't do it yet. We're going to do it, but they can't do it yet. There's no way to immediately turn that switch. And China's like, "Yep, we'll just send it over here. We'll take it. We'll make a special deal." And again, as far as globalization goes, they're gonna help each other. And they said that they're taking things to new highs. So not necessarily the best for the rest of the world, but again, China's going to take everything they can to get where they need to go. So looking at today, it's very much a risk-off day. It's one of those odd days that the VIX is negative and all the equities are also negative at the same time, and the dollar's negative. Dollar's rallying back a little bit, but yesterday we were talking about that 104 number. It actually crashed below 103 for a little bit in the European session before driving higher. So, not seen as a dollar necessarily strength-based positive day today. Obviously what we talked about yesterday is like, when does Apple miss? Here's what we had with Apple: immediate surge forward. Everybody that bought it immediately got stopped out again, and then it came right back up to where it was again. And this Apple, I mean, it's funny. They're like, oh, but there
Look at
could be
that
supply
chart.
chain problems. Yeah,
Look
it's
at that
ridiculous.
chart. That's just the funniest thing, because you've got a hairy wick to the top, if people can't see it,
Yeah.
and a hairy wick to the bottom.
Yeah,
Talk
and it's
about
like
volatility.
yeah,
This is what
it's
happens when you
unbelievable.
trade
Yeah,
after the bell in a very
yeah.
illiquid market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10% swing top to bottom. If you take the top to the bottom, it's $16, it's 160. It's a 10% move.
That's
In,
just
in
good.
a
Yeah.
matter of in 1 hour. And again, this is people trying to get into it, trying to anticipate. Like, is it going to be good? Okay, it's good. I'm going to buy it. And as they're slowly trying to get into it, they trap everybody, and then it goes down and it wipes all those people out. They're like, "Holy crap! I've already lost. How much am I got to get out. This is what's going on here." And then it comes right back up again. So
And it did
yeah,
nothing.
it does. I mean, it's just again, this is that option play where again,
Yeah.
they drove the price higher, it drove all the way down again, and you had that volatility crush. It's like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And then they're going to say, but we could miss next time. Apple's notoriously, the one that's always like extremely pessimist. We're going to miss next time, guys. I know we've done like 48 quarters in a row of record profits. We've never made this much ever, but next time. And they do it every time, and the market just doesn't listen to it, but people keep falling for it. So,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, going into the weekend right now with Russia intensifying things, it's interesting. The other piece of it is that Russia's Federal Security Service facility also came on fire from the Ukraine. I think this is extremely dangerous and probably the dumbest thing the Ukraine could ever do. Putin, again, I don't think he'll go to nuclear weapons, except if he said that if Russia was threatened. There's one thing about being on a defensive, giving people weapons to create an offensive to go into Russia. Again, attack them economically, cut them off from the world, give them weapons to protect themselves. But if you weaponize the Ukraine that they can go on the offensive against Russia, that is the last box he needs to check to go to a nuclear option. That is the absolute worst thing that I think we can do. I think all pressure should be put, but I think this is very dangerous. The last time they did it, they increased shelling. And again, the poor citizens of the Ukraine, because they're the ones that are going to take the brunt of it. It's bad. I mean, at this point, I don't even know what to do anymore for them. It's very, very difficult scenario for them. Freedom is extremely important. But if you start crossing the border and going into Russia, I think it opens up a whole nother chapter that I don't think
Freedom
anybody
isn't
wants a
free.
piece of.
Freedom isn't
freedom isn't free. Yeah, and that's you saw the comment there for that
And
one.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
so
I know. I'm on the other side. I mean, the people of Ukraine are doing what they can to,
mhm.
just to
Yeah,
completely sit back on their heels. Um, it's not like we gave them cruise missiles or something. Whatever. They're just pushing back. And if I
well,
were
long
Ukrainian, I'd
range
probably be doing
artillery
the
is what
same
we're giving
thing.
them right now. So
So,
yeah, it's the thing is, if we were going to give them the weapons in the first place, we should have basically said, if you cross with a tank, we're going to cross with a tank to defend them. We should have done a purely
yeah.
defensive mission from the very, very beginning. As I've been saying it forever, you match tank for tank, and then he's got to make the call. I'm going to
The
cross. It's
question
the
is,
same
does the
thing.
UN actually do something?
No,
So,
no. I think that answer is probably no. But
no.
there was definitely people that could have, and they let
Or
it go too
NATO.
long, and they
Yeah.
let a bully, and now we're in the situation. It's only getting worse, and we still have 40-year record inflation, and we're going to send another $33 billion across over there just for weapons when we could have just matched dollar for dollar. So
Yeah.
it's hard when people are struggling here to keep justifying the costs, and again, there are companies that are benefiting from it, but again, the one thing that will do for our economy, again, we're talking about going into recession. If we increase defense spending, that will also cushion any type of recession for us. So,
Yeah, no,
you know,
there is that. I hate to use the phrase,
the
but
war
it's
machine
a
is
war
real.
rally. It's a
Mhm. The
war
war
rallies
machine
are
is real.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that could be why we're seeing this pressure in the dollar pulling back a little bit, because knowing that we're making all these new weapons and we're sending these weapons over there, it has been proven throughout history that again, when you fund the defense industry, it drives our GDP higher. The Fed knows that. They're not missing that point. They're
It'll
looking at this,
soften
and
the
that may
blow.
be that might be exactly why we're seeing dollar weakness today, because of all the increased aggression. We will have a response back again. That's going to stimulate certain, groups, certain sectors of the
Industries.
economy.
Yeah.
That helps lower the blow of raising interest rates. So again, they may not need to do it as much, knowing that this is there. And again, very rare day that the VIX is down and all the indices are down. Um, Looking at the ES, I think it's a very interesting scenario. NQ is the one that we talked about yesterday, and we kind of retraced all the way back up into the area of buyers. And then obviously, after the market closed, with everything going on, we said that NQ was going to have probably some crazy movement. We were talking about it going long yesterday, but I said you got to watch to see what the market does during the day. I said look for the market to go down, and then it'll be a boom for the N cube if both of them are great, right? We expect them to be good. The market did the opposite. 10:30 yesterday morning, and I said it's a reversal day yesterday. The reversal, the very, very bottom yesterday was at 10:30. Okay, this is exactly what I meant by it was a reversal day. What did it do? It drove it higher, and then magically the earnings came out. Magically, Amazon just happened to miss and take a big write-off, and the market just completely crashed right back down again. So this is going right back to look to see what the price action tells you to see where you're going to take your trades. We see it every single time in news. The 10-3-1 strategy that I gave you guys for oil, it's the same thing. The market will always drive it, typically in the exact reaction. That's why people say, buy the rumor, sell the news. It's the exact same thing. The market pre-positions it to get a discount on it. The news comes out, everybody tries to react to it, but the market's already positioned, and then when they try to get in it, it's manipulation. There's no other really word for it. But looking at NQ today, I'm gonna, looking at this right now, this tried to pull back, and I wouldn't be surprised. Was this a 50% pullback that it came to? Yep, came or 61.8. It started basing in that level. That's kind of a big area. Think about it. The overall general public hasn't had the opportunity to react to all the factors that have already sent this thing down. They're looking at this and say, wait a second, Apple, they're going to have supply chain problems. Amazon missed. Holy crap, Amazon missed. It was an investment that missed, but on that investment, they're still up for, what did we say, $4 billion? They made $11 billion in fourth quarter, and then this they had to do a $7 billion write-off. I'll take that trade any day of the week, right? Make $11 billion, losing $7, you're still up $4 billion on that transaction. So that's not bad. That's not a bad investment for them. But yet the market's taking it that way. But people see that and they're like, "Oh God, that's horrible."
And
Amazon's
then
not.
the slower growth,
Yeah.
$140 billion hit. Woo! I don't know.
Yeah,
Those are some fairly significant reactions, but the market. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, we're in a situation where people are looking for the negative, and then you're going to see these. You're going to
absolutely.
see these amplified negative news,
Yep.
and anything positive is going to be dampened. If you recall, Microsoft blew it out of the water and goes up.
Yeah, but
3%.
it's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, Microsoft
Right.
killed it beyond killing it.
Destroyed.
They're
Yep.
up 3%.
Yep.
Amazon misses a little bit. they're taking it down 10%. So
Yeah.
lots of volatility.
Yeah. So what I would do is, again, I think it'll be very, very similar with the negativity. One of the areas that I'm looking for in particular right here is you can see right around 7:45 this morning, it did kind of run into a level of basing that we had saw before. And again, I'll pull this off just so it's a little clearer. This level of basing after the gap is kind of like, all right, there's buyers established. We've already hit that once. We're kind of hitting it again. This is an area where I think there could be a potential trap today. Again, the sentiment is definitely negative. Russia's increasing things. We're going to cut this person off. All these are kind of negative, factors. The CPE, I wouldn't say it's one way or the other. The consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock may add a little bit of extra spice to this one. Again, we're seeing profit taking from the entire week, but there's a trap sitting right here. People are going to look at this and say, wait a second, there's the Globex low. If it breaks through the Globex low, I should definitely short this. So people are going to look at this and not look at the VIX, because not everybody understands what the VIX is. They're going to look at this and say, wow, everything is right across the board. Amazon missed. Holy crap, the world is ending right now, right? This may actually give us the potential to kind of take a long off of this one. I'm not saying that necessarily it's going to be a feel good Friday. It could. Yesterday became the one of my students, one of my actually better students, probably my best. At 12 o'clock yesterday, right around 10 o'clock, he goes, well, he said something about, looks like Feel Good Friday's not coming today. And then all of a sudden the market went absolutely crazy, on that reversal time. Today, I think, is another one of those scenarios. It's very, very similar. The sentiment is all negative. The market hasn't reacted to it. They're looking at this and saying, hey, I'm smart. I know the Globex low is right there. But it's an area of buyers, and buyers stabilized it before. So could we push in, and could there be some buying opportunity? I think there could. I do think there will be at the open. I do think everybody that saw Amazon is going to be trying to sell. Yeah. But once that initial brunt is in, I think the market has the ability to turn and shoot back higher. Again, dollar weakening, it is definitely being a Friday. It's going to be risk off with a war, with where it's escalating to. I definitely think it is a more risk off. Me personally, I think it's more of a risk off day. But and again, so does the market. All the indices are down. That's the risk assets. If you look at all the cryptos, again, risk assets, they're all off. Commodities, which everybody needs, every single one of the commodities, including gold and silver, right? So gold, silver, natural gas is now up, 2.5% back over 7.5. And again, every one of the indices is basically the same. I think they're all doing the same thing. Even though like YM right now, YM I think does have an interesting scenario because it is coming off this racetrack right here. And again, talking about slower growth and supply chain and all those things, the YM tends to take the brunt of a lot of these things. Anything that's manufacturing, especially consumer sentiment. When people hear slowdown, it's a slowdown in manufacturing is really kind of what people are talking about. I think that YM is probably what I would say is, although it's not the weakest right now, because of the chart setup, this is a big area that we can retrace. So I think NQ has some stabilization in here. I think ES, come on, switch to me. ES also has that same kind of stabilization, a little bit of a racetrack on that one. And again, really, if there's a slowdown, Russell should be affected the most, and it's kind of peaked. So I think there's that initial barrage, this area in here that we can overcome. That I'm kind of, it's not bad. I think it's decent, right? But at the same time, when you kind of pull this, again, you can see that the 23 has been an area. So, like I said, I think there's an initial drive. There's a potential for reversal. Crude oil, again, watching crude oil continue to go higher and higher and higher. It's now officially out of that last draw that we had over here. It is creeping up on the larger spectrum of things. We talked about 106 being an area, and it had to fight to get through 106. 104 wasn't as big of an issue, but you can see it finally hit it. It hit it again. It hit it in base in there, came up, and then used it. I think where we are right now with oil, not that Friday is historically like a big moving day, but with it starting to creep back higher, again, is the strategic reserve doing much? What's the next thing to drop here? We haven't heard about Beijing locking down. If it locks down, it's a selling opportunity. If Beijing, again, I was expecting we'd hear it yesterday or today. We haven't yet.
That would be interesting.
If we don't need to lock down Beijing, I think that also accelerates this back higher, and I think we could potentially break 109, 110. I'll tell you right now, if they say, you know what, that's it. Keep your oil. We're not paying. I mean, they are going to pay in rubles. They said they will, but any more talk about how we're just going to cut them off, I think this has the ability to get back over 110, which shows you, again, the Strategic Oil Reserve has provided no stabilization whatsoever. OPEC is going to look at this, $10 swing and say, listen, we need to stabilize it, guys. We're not going to produce more because OPEC has already said they're not going to let politics get into it.
Yeah.
If there is supply, remember, Russia is part of OPEC Plus too, so they get a say in that one. Natural gas, we talked yesterday about having a short. It did. It broke through. It based. It came back up, touched it, went all the way down, and now we're pushing higher again, kind of rolling into the U.S. based session. I think we get a little bit of relief here, but again, if you're cutting gas off, you're cutting gas off for everybody, and they haven't said how they're going to make up for that gas yet. Because remember, Poland's good, but the rest of Europe is not. We know that Switzerland has, no reserves, no ability to take on more. They don't have enough right now. If they try to cut them off, they don't have gas. So we know that this has the ability to pop. Gold and silver, both rallying back up again. Now, it did come back up to the 50. We mentioned a little area here that was tested right at 1920. That's actually what it bounced off of. I was surprised it didn't give more of a kind of a resistance at 1907. You can see it had pushed it all the way. I mean, here was the zone. It pushed it to the brink. It wasn't as good. It hit it again, and I like the reaction here, but it did hit it. It did drive back down. It came up again. So, I mean, we were, pushing 5-6 times coming through this area. Then it kind of Harry Pottered higher and grabbed the next clean level at 1920 is pushing down again. So, again, silver should be double what gold is. Gold is up 0.9 right now. And I think this is like, how do we get safety over the weekend? It is kind of where, and again, weak dollar, it's rolling back into gold. Silver, it should be twice as high, but you can see that silver's already come back up, grabbed that same level, and now is rolling back down again. So I would expect gold to probably do the same thing. It may base through and push back lower. The Fed didn't really mention anything. We'll see if they say anything today. I'm kind of wondering, if they're not going to get in there and be like, look, it's working, guys. I told you it's working. We'll see. So. But this is actually a story too that we're seeing unfold. That Russia is talking about pegging ruble to gold, to gold prices, right? And this person says it's not being discussed at all. But again, a couple other people have reported that it is. Remember, Russia is kind of like now looking at China and saying, "Oh, you're allowed to keep your currency pegged and low. We should do the same thing." Japan is allowed to become an export nation and low. Oh, we should do the same thing. It's great to have a strong currency in some senses, but eventually it'll come down to the point where it'll come back to dollars. I can buy resources from Russia really, really cheaply. Should I buy American grain for 4 times the amount, or should I buy Russian grain for 25%? Eventually that argument wins. So if you have things that people
want, we'll see what they end up doing. We'll see what they end up doing.
I think that this is, although they're saying no, we're not doing this, guys. It's them trying to, we're trying to jump in front of them. They're trying to say, no, don't cut that off from us, right? I think that's an avenue that they're going, and I mentioned that in the past too. So that's probably why you're seeing gold rally. But now that they're saying it's not true, I would expect gold to kind of push back down again. Aussie is another one. Again, you're seeing it drive up almost in line with gold, but it is starting to hit some levels here where you're starting to get a little kind of anxious with it. There is some sellers in there, and again, we're right around the 23.6. So in this case, if we get a reversal, it's downward strength coming back in. I honestly won't be surprised at all. With this bit of a pullback, again, you can see the dollar pulling back to the 23.6, finding a base and pushing higher. With the U.S. coming in, it's like, hey, home team, baby, home team. I wouldn't be surprised if we get back up and we at least push into the 103.60 range. So again, reversals in the Aussie dollar. Euro dollar, it's kind of already starting to pull down again. Again, it came back up at Harry Potter, down 3 times off that same level. I really want to see if we can get a little bit lower, but you can see right here, we talked about where the news is coming in. It drove up before the news came out. The news came out. It drove it right back down again. Pound dollar, also the same thing. And we mentioned this zone yesterday. We literally just banked off to 50%. Will dollar strength come back and reverse it? I'd say probably back to the downside. Dollar CAD, again, Harry Potter off this first level we talked about. Wasn't enough room even though it came down. With oil up, dollar reversing. Again, we'll see if we can find kind of a base down here. But dollar Swiss, again, punched higher. Wasn't enough room for me. And then again, dollar yen I think is an interesting call because dollar yen has a base right here, right? We've now hit it twice. Doesn't mean the next time we hit it's going to break.
Up to 135.
Yeah, well, it won't because some guy over here just said, it's going to 135. I just saw it. He literally said it's going to 135, and then it did nothing but drop down. I don't know where it is, but yeah, it was like one of the radio stations or one of the not radio stations, but somebody said it's going to 135. We're going to see this week. This is it overloaded? It's going there, and he said it, and it was like, oh really? And it went straight back down again. So
all right,
yeah, same thing. Dollar Swiss stretches to 2-year highs. The rally overdone, and then it kind of the same thing. It started to push back down. So yeah, but we're back down to the 130. 135 is not really out there, but it is. I think there's a short coming in here as well. Again, a lot of stuff going on, but a break of 129.50. I think again, this one has the ability. Next time not next time, but when we finally do break, I think today will be a little bit. I think dollar strength will pull back in, and again, watch for traps at the open because I think all those people that are going to try to trade that that NQ open today,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna run into some problems. So, but I think the initial push will be down. But just
Yeah.
find a buying
Well, we're
opportunity
seeing
on a
that.
trade
Yeah, it's
basis.
definitely looking to open in the red. All right.
Yep.
With that, we went long for a Friday. Very, very long for a Friday. In any case, any questions for Nadex, please give us a call. Email us. Please email Nadex, customerservice@nadex.com. You got questions about our platform, you got questions about the products, you got questions about your account, we're here to help. Please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Brian and I are also very accessible if you've got some questions. Brian is a great mentor. You're looking for some help in the markets, reach out to Brian. You can email him, support@keeptradingsimple.com, support@keeptradingsimple.com. And with that, I'm not going to go through a whole recap of everything, but we are seeing weakness in the equities across the board on the heels of those Amazon earnings, certainly pulling some things down, some concerns around Apple supply chain. So look for some volatility in the equities. We will be back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Stay safe. We're going to be back in May. And until then, good luck in the markets. Thanks for joining, everyone.